trying to get really real.
You mentioned Boy Jones, how he was perceived back then, how Floyd Mayweather now is boring. People may call you boring. The same thing has happened with Tim Bradley, Terrence Crawford, Break It Down, and there seems to be a common denominator. And so do you think that black fighters have it harder in boxing because right away it's boring, he can't generate, he can't sell tickets, he don't get butts and seats. How much of that can you play in that?
It's a good question. It's a good question.
It's real.
It's tough to say, And I'm a biracial kid. A lot of people don't know my father was white. My mother was black. My father raised me as a single dad. So I don't think they can use the race card on me. I don't think. I should just guess, but I think there are some things in the sport, some racial issues, absolutely. But is everything race? No. Do I see things and read things sometimes where I say, that's interesting. But it's tough to say because I can't judge a man's intentions. I can't judge his intentions. Only God can do that. Say, you said that because of this. I just read it and I say, man, okay. I do one thing about African American fighters that I don't like is why is it okay for some guys to be soft-spoken, not say much, and they get promoted, not from their promoters, but by media members. Some guys' promoters can take it off and just collect the check and say, man, just pay me after the fight, because they're constantly getting promoted, and that's fine. But there's almost like there's this thing with African American fighters, like, well, you gotta do a little bit more. You have to show us something. Say a little bit more. Well, that's not me. So you're telling me that you can't work with this? Like it's not enough, or you can't work with that? And I see that common denominator with African American fighters. That hey, I understand what Floyd Mayweather has done. He said, man, I'm gonna put on the black hat, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna be the villain. But does every African American fighter have to be the villain? I don't think that's fair.
Well, I can speak as somebody who's worked with a black fighter, James Toney, who's not soft-spoken. And was
smoke is mine.
Was a little more abrasive in that, and we were not able to get any endorsements, and we weren't able to really maximize. I think he was one of the greatest middleweights, super middleweights of that era in the 90s.
Totally.
And his personality got in the way because of the opposite of what you're saying. He wasn't a God-fearing, soft-spoken, technical fighter. He went in there and he would take your head off, and if he could, he'd take your mother's head off. And he'd let you know that. So is that what people want? Do you want that thug mentality? Is that what the media wants to portray, to put people in the seats? Or do they want a gentleman who's a technician at his sport?
I'm pretty mean too.
Well, you need to be. But I don't know, how much does personality enter into the marketability of a boxer? I'm always curious about that.
I'm going to say this to you guys, and I hope you guys appreciate this. I'm not trying to say like I'm doing you guys a favor. I appreciate you guys showing up. But again, before I got here, I said, man, we can have the same old, or we can have a real discussion, because they say that I'm guarded. I hear those whispers around the sport, but I think I have a right to be. Like, I'm probably one of the most fun-loving people in the sport, and there's so much about me you guys don't know. Like, I think between me and my wife, I think we have a book already. We had our first child at 15 and 16 years old. Nobody knows that, or not a lot of people know that, because there's so much focus on, well, wore this, and well, he wore a white shirt to the weigh-in, that's disrespectful, and well, hey, he's got white shoes too, he's being too flashy. Like, it's always something, and there's so much positive to talk about. But when I see that, and I'm not saying it's the right response, but my reaction is, oh God, I'm coming to do my job, be as respectful as I can. I'm gonna give you guys what you need and nothing else. Nothing else. But it's so much that I would love to share with the media, but, and hey, I'm not going to change everybody, I get that. But I just think it's something to put on people's mind, and I think it's a good discussion to have. I don't think there's any room for racism, and I'm not accusing anybody, please don't put those headlines out there. I think that there are, please, yes, but please, I'm saying, there is that common denominator with African American fighters where it seems like they're asked to do certain things to be a draw or a sell. But what does that attitude get them? What does that demeanor get them at the end of the day? Because we see them for a few hours when they're in front of us, but 36 minutes for a fight, we don't know what goes on down the road. And if I look at the statistics, they're not very good of guys who live a positive life after the sport, who have their money intact, who have their faculties intact, who aren't on drugs. I mean, I saw Sugar Ray Leonard the other night, and he details a lot in his book, but he's doing really good right now. That's rare. I hope Floyd Mayweather never comes back to the sport of boxing, because I know that he's taken enough punches. I know that I've taken a lot of punches. Everybody likes to categorize as technical, this and that. I'm very mean in the boxing ring. But it looks a certain way. Rigondeaux has the same stigma. Roy Jones has the same stigma. Floyd Mayweather has the same stigma. It's too easy. You're not doing enough. That guy was supposed to beat you or make it tougher. And that's okay, I understand that. Sometimes I watch my fights like, man, that looked easy. But it wasn't. I'm like, man, that was hard. So why do they want me to go up to 175 so bad? Because they think it's a perceived threat up there. This is the guy that can finally get him. Well, I understand how boxing works. Because they feel like that, they're going to pay to see that. Is it a risk? Absolutely. Is it going to be easy? Absolutely not. Everybody that I've talked to, first thing they tell me is how hard Kovalev punches. It's just going to take more than that. It's going to take more than that. I'm just going to put it like that. I respect Kovalev, and I think he respects me. We'll put it on the line when we get in the ring, whenever that is. But that's why they want the move up now. They did it to Floyd. Oscar got all the advantages. The ring size, pick the gloves, everything. Floyd had no say. He ate that. He said, okay, let me get through this. Ricky Hatton was the next guy. They thought Gennaro Hernandez was going to be the guy. They thought Castillo beat him the first time. Then he brought it back and made it look easy. Oh, he's boring. Was he? People want to criticize Floyd about not fighting certain guys. You got a 20-year career, 2 decades. Pick the first decade or the second decade. It's up to you.
People always forget the first decade.
Right. But I was that little kid at his fights because we had the same manager. I saw that. I saw the Castillo fights. Was it Angel Manfredo? Tough dude at that time. Manfredo, yeah. Tough guy at that time. Jesus Chavez. Gennaro Chiquinito Hernandez. That wasn't supposed to happen. That was my Mikhail Kessler moment. That wasn't supposed to happen. Ricky Hatton. Robert Guerrero. Say what you want to say about that dude. He can fight, man. But it just looked easy. Look at Maidana. Maidana was a super middleweight. If you look at Floyd, you can visibly see Maidana's much bigger than Floyd. Why is he moving? Because he's big and he hits hard. I'm not trying to get hit by that dude. But you saw a couple times when Floyd got buzzed. I know because I'm a fighter, he got buzzed right there. He went to the corner, recovered, came back, made the adjustment. Man, respect him. You ain't gotta like him personally, but respect him.
You made it look easy when you made Carl Froch look bad.
That was a tough fight, man.
That was a tough fight, but I mean, I've never seen anyone do that before. I mean, is that going to be your style going forward?
What style?
Just, I mean, making a slugger like that, not be able to do his thing.
That's the goal. That's the goal. Seriously, that's what we train for. If I'm honest. But I mean, if you look at it like, I think so. Yeah, totally. I mean, there's not a lot of bad I can say about Kovalev.
Do you get the credit, Trey, if you beat him? Because I know you talked about not getting the credit, but if you beat Kovalev, who's a potential threat, do you think you'll get the recognition and the credit you deserve?
I mean, if history has a way of repeating itself, I think that I'll probably get a lot of credit for it, and there may be some who doesn't, and that's fine, you know. I understand that and I accept that. I think it's unfortunate for the whole of the sport, the greater good of the sport, because fans are reading this stuff and, you know, they don't all like it. I don't care what's written. I got a tremendous fan base. And early in my career and midway through my career, I wasn't always tapped into. That's part of some of the issues that came up. So these fans read this stuff and they're not happy about that stuff. And again, it's not just about me. You hear this, you named a bunch of fighters just a few minutes ago. I can name a bunch more. And it's not just African-American fighters. There's other guys that don't get credit. It's not just a black thing.
It's a tough sport to get attention.
But do you also think that a lot of it is because of social media, the access that it is for someone to say something negative so quickly, where, like, just as an example, you can have the best dinner somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Let's say it's the new spot.
Why is he eating?
Man, no, it's just an amazing spot. Then you go home and you talk about it and you think, oh, it's a great place, right? But if one thing went wrong, at the restaurant, they're so quick to go and write something about it, write a review about it that's negative, but they won't write a review that's positive because it was positive. It's just so much easier to go along with what the drama is or what's not right as opposed to what is. Do you feel like that's a double-edged sword for you?
It's tough, it's tough. But I think if boxing was my complete life and I had nothing else going on and this was it, I think this stuff would drive you crazy. I really do. But it's a part of my life, and that's coming from a person who's very dedicated. I don't say that like, oh, boxing's a side thing. Like, that's not it. But yeah, it's just part of it. And I'm not going to defeat this thing all by myself. But when I look back at certain fighters like Bernard, Roy, Floyd, and other fighters alike, those are just the guys that come to my mind right now. Those are like my 3 favorite fighters growing up. Bernard, Roy, and Floyd. That's why I keep mentioning them. But there's other fighters, other races that take stands and that do things. I mean, look at Mikey Garcia. Respect that dude. I know what he's going through. He's on the shelf. No action. And I'm sure he's been offered something that wasn't favorable. And he's still making a stance on principle. Now, I don't think Mikey's getting the heat that I got. And why, I don't know. But I wish him nothing but the best. But I know what he's going through. So when I see guys make a stance like that, it encourages you. I had a guy last night at the Creed premiere, which I had a great opportunity to be a part of the movie. Danny Showtime Wheeler was my character. It's exciting to be a part of.
You were good.
And thank you.
Saw that.
Yeah, my acting debut. Yeah, it was awesome.
Good. Good movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was tremendous. Ryan Coogler did a tremendous job. Michael B. Jordan, all those guys. But I had a guy come up to me out of the blue and just like, man, just start talking. Like, dude, what you do and I follow you. It encourages me. Like, honestly, as I'm getting older, the noise is less important and those moments are more important. And nobody sees them, but when I can go to my kids' school and their friends are like, Mr. Ward, that's what's important. Like, when I had to pull out of this fight and I get text messages like, bro, get yourself right. I know you'll be back. Those are the ones that matter. I don't even listen to the noise because I can predict what's coming. I can predict it.
How frustrating is it for you to have heard or read that when you did have to pull out of the fight due to the injury, that people were like, I knew he was going to pull out?
Man, God bless him, man. Honestly, I don't mean that sarcastically. Like, God bless him, man. I don't know what to say. I mean, I've heard people say I was scared. Like, scared of what? I've been boxing my whole life. Like, I'm not gonna start changing colors now. He was afraid of. I don't know. He was just afraid. Like, what are we talking about here? Like,
so ridiculous.
He was afraid of the big lights. Like, okay.
I haven't read this stuff. I don't know.
I mean, but this is stuff that I hear. I get the overflow. Like, my wife would tell you, I don't read it. I don't. And I'm not just saying it like I'm big time in anybody. I can't do it.
Andre, how much is this game?
And it hurts me because, my manager, James Prince, like, over the last couple months, he's kind of gotten it. Like, you see this fight? I was like, nah, I didn't see it. Who fought? And he's like, okay. And then he throws something, and he named somebody in my weight class. He's like, you see? I was like, nah, man, I didn't see. He's like, Trey, what's up, man? I was like, and he's like concerned that I'm like done with the sport and I don't love it anymore. It's like, nah, Jay, I told you, man, I got like a linear approach right now. Maybe it'll change one day, and it hurts me to say that. It really does, but that's kind of where I am right now,
So when you got into the game, obviously you just did it for the love. Do you remember a certain point where you realized that it wasn't what you thought it was going to be, that all this business and all this personal issues and everything else was taking a toll on your soul?
Post Kessler. post Kessler. That's when I really started to realize, wow, it's the biggest moment of my life. And I'm reading some things about me being a dirty fighter. Like, I didn't intentionally headbutt that guy. Like, you know, I mean, I just saw certain things written, and it was like, wow, the same source of the same guy who said I didn't have a shot is the same guy kind of saving face, writing that, he only won because of this, let's see what he does next. And I was just like, this is my moment. This is my moment. I'm a baby in the game, and they threw me to the wolves, and I showed them I could fight back, and I beat them. And it was because of Oakland, it was because of this, it was because, when I saw that, I said, man, okay, this is a business. And that's when it really started to hit me. But, you know, the goal for me, man, like, you know, I'm a Christian. I'm not a perfect man, but that's my belief system. And one thing that a Christian has to learn to do is love his enemies. Now, I'm not saying that writers, it's not that serious. They're not my enemies. But individuals who may not speak well about you, individuals who may not like you, whether it's justified or not, you have to learn how to still love them. And that means, how you doing, man? Appreciate you, man. Thank you for all you do for the sport. In the midst of what you just wrote about me. And it's not easy. It's not easy. Like, y'all would love coming home to some of my vent sessions to her. Or some of my vent sessions to my publicist. Y'all would love that. Turn the cameras on. He's losing it. You gotta have those moments. I need them. But then, you know, I gotta remember, okay, listen, man, you never just represent yourself in the sport. It's not just about boxing, man. How are you gonna learn to love somebody who doesn't love you unless you have somebody who doesn't love you that you have to love? This is the way I think about it. People say, oh, you're wasting your career. No, I'm not so, man. I think I got a plan with these little delays that I've had. But let's look at the end of the story and just see how it goes. I look at it like a 2-year rest. I've been grinding 20 years straight.
When is the end of the story going to be?
I mean, I think if you know, we get a little creative here, a 3-fight deal has just been signed, so.
To piggyback on that, I remember an interview of yours a couple years ago where you said ultimately you want to finish at heavyweight. Do you still feel that way?
I gotta get through light heavyweight first.
Well, you said it.
But I stand by that.
Settled in this role that you probably won't be appreciated until you're out of the sport.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm willing to accept that yet.
And why is that?
I think that's the easy way out. I just try to stay positive and try to stay optimistic, and I just try to be led, man, with whatever I say and whatever I do. You know?
I don't understand the question. I think you are appreciated.
I do too.
Yeah.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people have you as maybe the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world.
Yeah, but you got to realize something, like, and I don't mean this in an arrogant way, but they kind of got to give you that.
No, I don't
I'm just saying, like, I know they vote, and I know, but I mean, they kind of got it. That's kind of like, not with everybody, and I can't speak for you guys, but sometimes, and he's a good fighter, sometimes that's the backhanded compliment, where the first 3/4 of the article or the interview or whatever, it's just tear down, and let me just, this last paragraph, he's a good fighter, he's beat this guy, and this guy. It's almost like, I feel like I've earned that. I've earned that. Like, you can't take that from me. Those names are who they are, and we did what we did. But any hope about the future, it's just not there. So I can't say who appreciates me, and I don't want this to come off like, oh, you got, and let me just, I know there are guys who appreciate me. These two guys right here, I know for sure guys that have written positive, not just about me, but fighters. And that's when I became aware of, like, FightHype.com. Because I saw, I was like, man, I really appreciate the way this guy's covering the sport, man. Okay, he had to touch on something, but man, he didn't, like, go overboard. Like, I appreciate, there's people in here that say, man, listen, I don't have any stake in the race. I'm just here to cover the sport, and I appreciate you guys. And I do feel appreciated in some respects, but the last 2.5 years, it's something a little different, and I can't really interpret that. I have my own opinion, but maybe you guys being in the business can help me out.
I think a lot of people look at it and say, we hate to see a great fighter lose some of the prime years of his career. I think that's what most people feel.
But I've heard that before. But what does it have to do with me as a person?
Yeah.
I don't know.
People didn't understand what was going on and they blamed you for whatever reason.
What does it have to do with me? What does it have to do with my character?
Who's attacking your character? I mean,
The trolls.
you mean that?
I'm not talking about trolls. Don't get no shine. I'm not talking.
There's one thick writer he's talking about, I think.
You're talking about guys saying
There's
that
several.
you didn't treat the patients fairly?
There's some
Is
that are
what you're
here.
saying?
Nah, it's not even that. It's not even that. It's just. I mean, I think people kind of know. You know. I mean, I think it's when you read things about, and sometimes things are said without being said. I mean, I don't have a college degree, but I thank God for common sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, that'll take you a long way in life. And sometimes you can read between the lines, and then you keep seeing the same type of thing written, and then his buddy writes the same thing, and then his friend writes the same thing. You say, man, it's interesting. So it's not one person. And they know who they are, and I have nothing against them, man. I really don't have nothing against you guys. Not you guys, but whoever's writing whatever, and then it's really not even about them. I don't want to give anybody too much attention because it's not. I'm just here trying to be the best fighter, the best man that I can be. Give you guys all I have because when I'm done, man, I'm done. I've been doing this 20 years. And I know that this is the beginning of the end. And that could be 5 years, 7 years, 3 years, I don't know. But retirement and legacy and those things that were in the back of my mind are always in the front of my mind.
How would you want it to be written? Looking forward, how would you want that to go? You know what I mean?
It's tough to say. You know, I don't want to like toot my own horn or anything like that. You know, just a fair assessment. Whatever's fair and objective and honest. You know, with no personal feelings attached to it. And I think any fighter would want just a fair shot when it comes to their legacy being written. But, you know, if the masses don't write that or don't care, my identity's not wrapped up in that stuff, guys. It's really not, man. I appreciate you guys. And whether you guys write positively about me or not, or whether you guys, accurately depict what I'm trying to say or not, man, life goes on. And my kids and my wife, and those that love me and know me, and those that want to try, that's what's important. I mean, literally, that's what's important.
I think reasonable people are like Bob. We just want to see you fight. We do appreciate what your talents, and we just want to see you fight.
Absolutely.
Me too. Me too.
Again, I go back to that Raj fight, and that was one of the greatest fights I've ever seen.
Dawson fight wasn't so bad either.
Dawson, yeah.
Can I say this real quick before you guys go? Like, I want to be in the ring just like anybody else. Whether it's been an injury or, you know, the lawsuit situation, as unfortunate as that is, that's life. You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes we want to, like, put our champions and our athletes on this pedestal, like life is perfect, watch these guys shine. There's peaks and there's valleys. And I'm a firm believer, man, that sometimes you get more out of those valleys than you do the peaks. When I couldn't work, when I couldn't make a living, but yet I was in the gym encouraging guys like Berto and Khan and Angulo, when I knew I don't know when I'm going to fight. They're like, why are you in the gym? Man, I'm just trying to stay ready. I know what that feels like. So to be able to get that back, I got a different appreciation for the game. You know, I really had to test the dedication that I say that I have when there's no date, son, and we don't know when this is going to be over. Are you still going to go to the gym? Are you still going to eat right? Are you still going to, are you still going to respect the gooses and different things even though you guys are going through it? Like, those are the personal lessons that are going to last me a lifetime if I respond the right way. So I just want to give a public service announcement that I do approve. I don't think my career is over, contrary to popular belief. And I think the reports of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. I think that I still have a lot left in the tank, and I think that the ending is going to be just the way it's supposed to be. And I appreciate everybody who's hung in there through the rough time. And this is life, guys.
Can't wait for the movie.
Thanks,
Great
man.
in the meantime.
Hey, Andre.
Thank you for your time, everybody.